I would like to introduce Patty DeMarco, who is going to be right in front of me, the moderator tonight. Rachel Carson's scholar, writer, and Trillium's new friend. We're going to set up the chairs here. Please hang out. If you are stepping out, be sure and check out the video interview section.
Thank you very much. I am so honored and delighted to be here to have a chance to share your feedback on this wonderful concert. And thank you all for coming out to appreciate new music. Rachel Carson is one of Pittsburgh's heroes. She was a lone voice calling for a change at a time when things were very bleak for the world. And we are in times like that now, when a single voice of courage and hope can actually make a difference in the fate of our earth. And I think this kind of music helps us to absorb some of the tragedy that we see around us, gives voice to the screaming earth that we don't hear, that we are oblivious to, that we don't notice as it goes by. But music connects you in a way that words can't, because the earth doesn't speak in words, but the earth speaks in sounds and rhythms of life that make a huge difference. And becoming attuned to that, to the tragedy of that, in a way that touches your heart, can change the way we approach these tremendous difficult times that we're facing. So you guys should come sit here. Mark, who is the composer. And I wanted to start out while you're composing your questions and ask you how in the world you received inspiration from connecting Rachel Carson and Buckminster Fuller, both of whom had really different views of the future as philosophers and as musicians. So could you give us some insight in what inspired you to choose these two?
Okay, so first of all, Trillium Ensemble commissioned me to write a piece in 2012, and I wanted to use Katie's voice because they normally play as a trio. She doesn't get to sing a whole lot, and I really wanted to use that unique instrumentation that they had. So knowing that it was going to be Katie's voice, I really wanted to find a female scientist whose words would make sense with her voice. And Rachel Carson just turned out to be the perfect person. She's local. It turned out to be the 50th anniversary of Silent Spring. And everything just came together to write that piece. And I had written another piece that I was inspired by Buckminster Fuller, the first piece in the concert. And they just seem to have, they both think of the big picture and how everything is interconnected in different ways, but I wanted to combine those two and use both of their ideas.
So the collaboration has been wonderful, and how did you feel about it? Do you have, did it connect? Do you feel connected from hearing this music? Who would like to share some thoughts about how it affected you to hear this music? Yeah, go ahead.
At the beginning, I was a little confused, and I know this is contemporary music, and it's something I have to wrap my head around. But I knew what you were portraying in there, and after a while, it became sort of painful. Not so much to listen to your music, but to know what was happening to us. Okay, I want to know, I felt at the end there was hope. Good. And I, because I know where we are now, I know what we're doing to ourselves, and I know what other people are doing to us. And I just wanted to I feel there's hope for us. And I felt it in your music, and that was a good thing.
Thank you, that's wonderful, because that's one of the things about Rachel Carson that's so important, is that she wasn't a person of desperation and despair. I mean, she was pleading that if you only live in harmony with the world, with the laws of nature, it will work. It works for us. It's only when we try to make it into machines and do something different with it than was intended that we get into, and we did that, so we can undo that. Other comments? Anyone have something back? Yeah, scream.
Speaking of machines, there was a part of the composition about 3/4 of the way through that really sounded very industrial to me. It was very rhythmic. You were using a lot of the bass clarinet and such, and I was wondering, not knowing anything about Rachel Carson other than the fact that she came from Western Pennsylvania, was that a comment on the industrial past of Western Pennsylvania, or was that supposed to be evocative of something a little more specific?
In general, hi Jamie. In general, yes. I mean, we were not necessarily like Pittsburgh or Pennsylvania, but I think the entire world, pretty much, and how we can move at such a fast-paced, we're a fast-paced society, and we are sort of, we can go in the direction of driving the earth into the ground. We can go in that direction if we'd like. So that's why we put that piece is called E to the X, and actually all these pieces, are on our CD. And Mark sort of transformed them for this performance. They're going to sound different on the CD, for sure. He added things in. He added the bass clarinet in and the contraflute, but yeah, so that does represent like sort of how things could get out of control if we let them. And then that's where Silent Spring came in, the last piece on the program, to sort of help people ponder a little bit about maybe how they, treat the earth or treat themselves. And we wanted it to be a hopeful ending for everybody. Yeah. Anybody else have anything?
Yeah, more questions?
Yeah, come on. Who has a comment? Yes.
So I went to a movie last night by Josh Fox. I don't know if anybody else here went to the film. He's done a few movies about fracking, and this one was about global warming. And he went to some different places around the world and looking at what people were doing to challenge the effects of the industry that was produced. That's the big problem. And one of them was in the South Pacific, where the islands that are threatening to be overtaken by the ocean as the ocean rises. And one of the most powerful parts of that was the music. The people there were very much using music as part of their actions, and in fact, they were going out in little boats to try to stop these huge coal barges from leaving Australia. And they were playing the drums and doing the sort of traditional music. So it was amazing to see the connection of that film last night and this piece. It just really kind of brought things together.
I did find this a much more hopeful outcome than Josh Fox's unbelievably depressing stuff. Anyone else have a comment on this? Yes.
So what it brought out for me was a reflection on Rachel Carson's writing process. As you know, Patty, thanks to a writer and researcher named Linda Lear, we know something about Rachel Carson's family and her home and her writing process. And there was always music in her home and music in her life. And part of her process, before she finished a final version of a piece of writing, was to listen to someone else reading it aloud. And listening to your readings this evening with the music just really brought out that part of her thought process that she brought to her expression.
Her mother.
It was just a really wonderful coming together.
Her mother was a piano teacher, so Rachel would have heard music in the house all the time. And when she finished writing Silent Spring, she rewarded herself by listening to Beethoven's Violin Concerto, which was her favorite piece of music, and she hadn't played it for the 4 years that she was writing. So I was thinking about, that, and also she loved Mozart's Clarinet Concerto in A. So when you're playing all these lovely clarinets, I was thinking about that, emotional connection back to Rachel Carson. Yeah, other comments? Yes?
So obviously this piece is heavily inspired by ecology and nature. Did any of you as artists go to nature personally as in part of your process? Can you tell me a little bit about that?
I went to nature this morning for a walk. I think we all 4 of us, and probably Dawn too, because Dawn runs like 20 miles a day. We're all very interested in nature, and we all share an interest in biology and science. And so when this project started to form, it was like just combining all these great things that we're interested in, sort of a dream coming true, for me at least. Yeah.
I'm Don, I'm the sound designer. Well, Mark and I used to live on the same street, but we never met. And so, but when you came in, you heard some birds, and those birds were from Frick Park. So we both love, in fact we all, I think, love Frick Park very, very much. And so what we wanted is that you would walk into Frick Park, and that's what happened to us.
Other questions?
I have a comment and a question. I want to say I thought the transitions were really incredible.
Oh, we were most scared about those.
Yeah, I thought the transitions were incredible and just very smooth, and that kind of made me think of nature and like the transition between the seasons or something, just very smooth. This might be an obvious question, but did you intend for some of the parts to sound like birds, like some of the flutes and clarinet?
Yes, definitely. Especially in Silent Spring, the last piece, the whole inspiration for Silent Spring and what I wanted to do with that piece specifically was create something that was somewhat bird-like, and that was Katie's high vocalese singing. And when that music returned, there were no birds, and so instead we had the bass flute playing really airy sounds. So you can almost hear the pitches, but not quite. So it's sort of, there are no more birds, but we can hear the echoes of it in the wind. So there were a lot of wind-like sounds that I wanted to use, and the flute is great at doing that. Yeah.
Thanks for mentioning the transitions, because we were all giggling up here thinking like those were the scariest moments for all of us. And I was sort of thinking as we're playing it the whole show, I'm like, wow, it's going to be so easy when we just play one of these pieces and stop. But I wanted to just take the moment to mention a few other members of our team that aren't down here, and some can make it tonight. But the lighting designer, Antonio Coloratolo, is probably up there, and he didn't want to come down because he's shy, I guess. But yeah, he was amazing, and almost everything you saw was his idea. We had like 2 comments. So he really brought the performance to life. And we had a set designer, Lisa Libering, who couldn't be here tonight, helping us with the platforms and the trees and designing our apparel. And the domes, of course, from Buckminster Fuller. And we had another sound engineer, Jason Allison, helping us with our album, who couldn't be here tonight too, so I just wanted to mention them. Oh, and our in-house sound guy, Isaac Longstaff. Thank you. And while we're thanking everyone, it has been amazing to be part of this CSA series. It is just like the pinnacle of our ensemble's longevity, I think. And the staff have just gone above and beyond every time we needed anything, or we didn't even know we needed something, they were there. So thank you so much to Renee and Bill and all the staff here. They were just wonderful.
Hello. Where can I buy your CD and possibly contribute to future projects of yours?
In the lobby, right after, there will be CDs for sale, and they have a Kickstarter campaign, which is still active, and they welcome, you ended it? You made it? Yay! But you can make donations outright. They're welcomed at all times. Thank you. Other comments about the music? Did it move you? Did it make you change the way you see things? Do you feel better about the world? Yes?
It made me worse listening to it. It felt urgent and engaged me. It's also interesting, I'm a psychologist and I observe people who are making physical connections with each other, oftentimes during the music, leaning in towards each other, holding hands. That was interesting.
It's interesting to music makes you connect. You feel things that you don't necessarily cognitively understand. And these things are so complicated, you know, and you get overwhelmed. Like that movie was just such overload of overwhelmedness and sadness about the fate of people. And you don't feel like you can do anything. But music is empowering because it makes you see a different way of connecting to an issue. So I'm glad that you said that. That's really cool. Yeah, anyone want to comment on that? Other questions, comments? Yes.
I'd just like to say, I was very interested that the one woman over there made the connection between Rachel Carson and how much she loved music as well. I would really like to think that Rachel Carson would have loved this piece. And as much as we enjoyed it, I enjoyed it very much, and it gave me chills because you definitely could feel the different, well, vibe, you know, from the beginning to the end, through the end, and then the hope.
Yeah, hi Mom, thanks. Well, I think that's really, I didn't really talk to my mom about that. So I think that's really wonderful that she recognized that, because we all thought about that a lot throughout this whole process, and how we wanted to make it feel very like industrial in the beginning and almost like back in time, and then moving toward the future, toward the end, decided to bring it more organic, more nature oriented. So it's really interesting that you noticed that. That's really great for us, because that's what that was our intention. So anybody else?
Maybe one last comment? Anyone want to say the last word?
Yeah, I was really curious about what inspired you to tie the philosophies of Rachel Carson and Buckminster Fuller together, because on the surface, they're two very different people, and curious about the thinking behind that.
Yeah, like I said, it's just their big picture thinking. I'm not sure how well you could have understood the words at the beginning, if they were hard to understand or not, but the beginning is from Buckminster Fuller saying that when he was born, he was cross-eyed and he only saw big patterns and he couldn't make out distinct fine details. And when he was 4, he got glasses and then everything came into focus. But throughout his life, he always tried to make those big connections because of that. And from reading the two of them, that's what I get from that, is they're connecting big, looking at the big picture and not, looking how everything's interrelated. So that's what it was for me.
I'm sure our artists will be in the lobby if you want to talk to them further, but I have an assignment for you. Tomorrow morning, this is springtime. Go outside as early as you can manage it and listen to the chorus of the spring birds, because we do have a chorus of spring birds in Pittsburgh, and it is a wonderful, marvelous thing, and it will give you inspiration to keep fighting for the living earth. So thank you for coming this evening, and thank you for your patience. Thank you, Kim.